Welcome to Hip Hop Now Podcast. If you're from the future, you know what to do. Get your ass out of here. Don't disrespect the legend. Hip hop is here to stay. Let's get right into the business. What up, y'all? I am your host, Vegas, and this is Hip Hop Now Podcast, a podcast specifically designed to keep you caught up on all things hip hop, music, and culture that happened throughout the week. Big shout out to the audio listeners over at Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, Pocket Cast, wherever you get your podcast listening. I appreciate you for subscribing. Did you review the podcast on Apple Podcasts? You should. You really should. Also, big shout out to those watching right here on YouTube. If you're an audio listener and you like, word, there's a YouTube version, the link is in the description of this episode. But shout out to those subscribers. Welcome to all new subscribers to this podcast. Hip hop news and perspectives. That's what it's about. You know what I'm saying? Really quick. If you missed last week's episode, I went to Philly to see Nas and the Philadelphia Orchestra in concert performing Illmatic. It was great. My review's up. You can check it out. It was more than that, and I had a lot more to say than just that. But nevertheless, it was, it was worth it. It was definitely worth it. So check that out on the channel. It'll either pop up somewhere here on the video or just when you get to the end, because I know you will, of the video. Just click on the link there and then you can watch it. You can check it out. What were your thoughts? Did you go see Nas in concert with an orchestra? Leave your comments in the comment section below. But let's get right into it. Big shout out to hiphopdx.com. And I'm just going to say Instagram this week for helping me get some of these stories. Let's get right into the business, though. So just recently, Ghostface Killah announced officially that Supreme Clientele 2 will be dropping in August. This will be the third album in Mass Appeal's 7-album, 7-icon run. Started with Slick Rick with his album, Victory. Then we got Raekwon's The Emperor's New Clothes. And now, even though we don't officially have a date, because he didn't say a date, we have the announcement of Ghostface Killah's sequel to probably his best album, a undeniable classic from the year 2000, Supreme Clientele. And he also kind of put an exclamation point on that announcement by dropping a new single called Rap Kingpin, and people seem to be excited. For the most part, I like it, right? It's not extra gruff voice Ghost, so I like that. I like the way he rhyming is Ghostface. But the beat, it kind of pulls you in at first. You like, okay, this is old school. Okay, I'm feeling that. Well, wait a minute, is that a Mighty Healthy sample? That kind of threw me off, because I get it. It's a sequel to, hands down, in my opinion, your best album. I know some people love Iron Man, but whatever. And the callback is not necessary, because the last thing you want to do, because people are going to do it anyway, and maybe that's his philosophy. Like, you're gonna compare the albums anyway. But I don't want to compare this song, Rap Kingpin, to Mighty Healthy. You know why? Because there's no comparison. Mighty Healthy is crazy. Okay? So I still like the track. I still like Ghost and what he brought to the track. I wish there was a third verse or something of that nature. Shout out to the homie Ak. I think he said, considering that beat, having the Check Out My Melody basically style beat, he should have just put Rakim on the end of that joint. But who knows? Maybe he asked him, maybe he didn't. I don't know. But it's a decent start for Supreme Clientele 2. But Like I told y'all before, man, it is a tall task to do a sequel, and not many people have been successful at maybe not capturing the same amount of success as the original, but being like a proper sequel that you could feel like I could listen to part one and part two is an extension of it or evolution of it. Most recently, a success story would be Redman, right? He did Muddy Waters. Muddy Waters is a classic to me, arguably his best album. When he announced Muddy Waters 2 and when he took forever to drop it, I was nervous as hell listening to it. Like, man, this maybe he shouldn't have called it this, but it didn't matter. It turned out to be a very, very good album, a very notable sequel to a classic album, and one of Redman's best albums in probably more than a decade. And I'm not lying. I did a whole tier list. Okay, not to say everything was whack, but this was clearly one of his better albums. It just shoots right up to the top somewhere, either before or after Doc's the Name. I might say before. Okay, I might say before. But with Supreme Clientele 2, remember what Supreme Clientele did, right? Dropped in 2000, at a time where the rap game was very different, like certain artists had kind of, lost their way. Production was kind of weird around that time, everything. And the Wu definitely was down. Like, remember when the Wu launched, they had all these hits? It was like they got to a point where all these artists started returning with albums, their second albums, and they just weren't good. And it just felt like the Wu was going down. And then Ghostface dropped Supreme Clientele. He recaptured that feeling that we remembered. Considering Iron Man was already dope, his sophomore was not a jinx. It was really dope to see and hear. So there's a lot with that album that people are going to have expectations for. I'm sorry, it's just the way it goes. People are going to have expectations that are huge. But from what I've seen online, most people like the song that's out. So we'll see. Obviously, I'll do a review when it drops. Next. So Joey Badass took to Instagram Live recently to talk a little bit about Columbia Records delaying his album. He dropped a single not that long ago that I thought was pretty dope. And he had a performance on Jimmy Kimmel that I thought that was dope too. And he was telling his fans August 1st, which is the day of this recording, y'all gonna get this album. And to be quite honest, considering what I've seen that's dropped today, it would have been perfect. Because not to say everybody's whack that dropped today, it was just as far as my interest. I'm a fan of Joey Badass, so I was interested. But when I saw this video like 2 days before, and he's talking about the momentum he built, how he dropped like everything he dropped as far as the disc records and singles, they went straight to YouTube first just to put it out to the people. And he was doing the same thing here, right? Well, I guess trying to get Columbia to just like, yo, I got the momentum, drop it. For whatever reason, they delayed it. Now, I don't know if it's delayed until the next week or next month or next year. I don't know. But what was interesting about watching him talk about this and how he was saying how Columbia Records, they don't get it. They don't understand what it is. Him as an artist, feeding the people, all the rappers speak. And I felt on two sides, right, of this conversation or argument, if you arguing or whatever. Uh One, I feel Joey Badass because at the beginning of the year, when he decided to like basically beg Kendrick to, hey, battle me too, and Kendrick just been on tour for like the majority of the year, and it's like nobody wants to see that. Drake and Kendrick happened. It was what it was. Stop. Okay. Um, who knows? Maybe that was ordered by Columbia Records because record labels do get down like that. Like, yo, this Kendrick, see if he give us some of, some of that. Like this Drake, right? Like Drake stock ain't dropped that much. If you, he will engage because he looking for something. So you should have went to him. Kendrick's kind of like, who, what? I'm GNX. I'm in Barcelona. But with Joey Badass, I could feel him because him coming off of that, dropping those songs early on, that was kind of like, and then get into basically a real 20v1, right? Where he was really fighting off a number of MCs from the West Coast based off of what he said. He kind of got a lot of credibility out of it. I know some people didn't like his records. I don't care. I don't care. Them last two, they were good. They were good enough for me to feel like he won, considering he was literally fighting like a bunch of dudes. Drake, in his case, he made, I think it was push-ups. He made one song and addressed a couple of people, but after that, it was all Kendrick focused. Whereas, this with Joey was sort of like, oh, you want to fight? 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 So it was a couple of songs, right? That everybody dropped, and it was like a dope time. So Joey had some momentum off of that, and then when I heard this single, even though he's still taking some shots, which I'm like, all right, man, move on. Um, I felt it was dope, and when I watched the Jimmy Kimmel performance, I was like, this is dope. I'm curious as to what this album is going to sound like. So on August 1st, I'll be in line, not, you know what I mean. I'll be online, not in line, but I'd be in line to hear it. And it got delayed. But I also fall on the side of the record label when it comes to this. Joey, you have a contract. We know you want to be freedom of expression. We know you kind of want to move like an indie person would. But your label has to be behind that marketing strategy, right? There are people who get paid to come up with these things, or at least work in tandem, as they should, work in tandem with you as an artist to help really build that thing to a fever pitch. And I think maybe they felt like, even though he had some momentum, it kind of slowed down, which it did right before this album was supposed to drop. So I get it from both angles, but I just gotta look at somebody like Joey Badass and say, like, dog, if you want to do that, what you're saying, oh, he also threatened to just put the album on YouTube, but they will take you to court. Come on, man. Or they'll take some money from you or whatever. But I think at the end of the day, is you got to get off the label if that's the case. If you want to roll like this because that's what other people do, 9 times out of 10, they either are independent artists or there's someone who are a group or artists who are on a label that is 100% with them, right? 100%. Like, you want to drop, you want this Drake, you want to do that, let's do it. Like, right? Like Rock Nation. Like, look at what the Clips were trying to do, and Kendrick's verse didn't really even have anything controversial, and Def Jam wasn't with it. Pusha T calls Jay-Z. He say, hold my beer or hold my locks or whatever. My red stripe, whatever. Which is beer, for those who don't know. And they are not a sponsor of this podcast. And then, they were out of the deal, but they got the ideal rollout for themselves. Like one of the best rollouts for an album in hip hop history. It was just like they were going to make sure the hype was always there. There was always something added. They were everywhere. You can imagine, right? Breakfast Club, Tiny Desk, just everywhere, all at the same time. And then everybody's loving the album, buying vinyl and all that stuff. And then boom, tour. Perfect. Similar to what Kendrick did off the strength of GNX. Like every time you thought, oh, he gonna respond, no, he's doing the Super Bowl. Oh, he gonna respond, no, he's just winning a bunch of Grammys. So Joey, if you want the same kind of deal out of Columbia, you guys probably should have been on the same page. And I'm not saying they weren't. Maybe they were. Maybe everything Joey did was a part of Columbia and Joey Badass's plan. But he felt the album was ready to be dropped. And they were like, nah, just wait. Maybe that's what happened. But nevertheless, from what I can gather from the video, he seemed like, obviously extremely disappointed that the album wasn't dropping. And I feel him as an artist, man. When you feel like it's go time right now, you want to. But I'm also curious because he obviously, as an artist, believes in this project. I'm just wondering how good it will be. I'm just saying, like I'm hopeful. I just hope it ain't one of those things where, as an artist, you feel like, well, this is my great work and blah, blah, blah. And then we hear it and we like, it's all right. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. Did you see Joey Badass on IG Live complaining? Well, here's a better question. Do you think artists who want to be artists and don't want no executive producer dancing all in the video? All right, I'll relax. Do you think artists who want to be artists should just skip major labels altogether? We know these things sometimes these deals come with having like nice budgets and stuff like that. But do you think we're just at a time where you don't need them? You can build this stuff. You may have to hire a couple of people who did certain things you can't do. But beyond that, it may cost you way less just to drop your music and have a team that can give you a significant rollout. So leave your comments in the comment section below. And lastly, the date is August 1st, 2025. And it is the 30th anniversary of Raekwon the Chef's debut classic album, Only Built for Cuban Linx. If you was around back then and you bought the cassette, you know it's also referred to as the purple tape because the tape was purple. That's why. Um, I don't believe I lost my purple tape a long time ago. I even lost the purple CD, but I have the purple vinyl, and it's pretty dope. Right? It's right back there behind me. If you're watching on YouTube, for myself personally, thinking about this album 30 years later, the first thing that comes to my mind is the fact that it's coming up on actually towards the end of this month, 30 years since I started my freshman year in college, which is crazy. 1995 was a crazy year for hip hop. Same thing with 96. So I'm in school and all the things that people talk about, debate about, all that, it was just happening in real time. And I was just surrounded by hip hop heads. But when I remember where my hype started for this album. And it was in I believe in 94, either 94 or early 2000, not 2000, 1995, when I saw that Raekwon, first of all, I heard it on the radio. So I went to go get it because, I could hear the hook. But Raekwon and Ghostface had the song, the single, Heaven and Hell, that was featured on the soundtrack to the movie Fresh. Now, I never saw the movie Fresh, but I saw that video and I heard the song and I was like, yo, that don't sound nothing like the Wu-Tang album. Like, that song is crazy. You know what I'm saying? And I kept thinking, yo, Raekwon's album might be legit. So when it dropped, day one, I was right in the record store. I know my spot back in the days, Beach Street in downtown Brooklyn, Fulton Street, and went there. I think I bought the CD first because I don't remember. Well, you know what? Let me take that back. I did buy the tape first. Later, when the tape broke or somebody stole it, is when I got the CD. Um, but I just remember I don't think I had a working Walkman at the time. So I had to just, open it on a bus and look through and, all of that. And I think I wrote a chapter about this in my book. But I just remember when I got home, there was some things I needed to do before school, right? Like kind of getting clothes together and stuff like that. And it wasn't like I was leaving tomorrow, but I think I might have had a week or so left. And I just remember like getting myself situated to that album, right? Just my mom's wasn't home. We had like this big boombox joint. And the bass was crazy on there. So I was like, I'm gonna play this on there. And I just remember listening, and I remember the intro, striving for perfection. And I remember at first not just really like knowing like, well, what kind of skit is this, until I started listening. I'm like, oh wow, this is like we got one more chance at this, to get out of this street stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like this is it. This is glory. like they were saying. I'm not trying to be, sitting on a little 200 thou my life. I got big and better plans. Like, and I was just sitting there like, you know what? For somebody like me who's getting ready to go to college, this intro is so relatable to me. Like, sure, I was no drug dealer, you know what I'm saying? But I wasn't, I'm not a part of a family. Well, now I am, right? Because a lot of us have degrees. But at the time, my older brother was like the only person in the family with a degree, and I was up next. And I knew what I wanted. So I was looking at striving for perfection, like, word, you know what I'm saying? God, when my baby's in there, God, mess around my grandkid. Like I was feeling all of it. And I just remember, all the songs like hitting and the Woo features and obviously Knowledge God was dope and Incarcerated Scarfaces. Nas was on here, everybody had like a another name other than their name, right? Like this was the first time you saw that on Only Built for Cuban Links because that's how they were listed, like Method Man, aka Johnny Blaze, Ghostface Killah, aka Tony Stark's Iron Man. That's where all these other monikers came from. And then it was dope because Nas was the only feature outside the Woo, and it was like Nas, aka Escobar. And it was like, yo, this is just dope. And then, we heard songs like Verbal Intercourse and Nas, I think he might have got a hip hop quotable in the source for that joint. It was just top to bottom a very, very dope album. And I really like the way they set it up in the Wu-Tang American Saga show. Now, I know Ghostface and Raekwon say, yo, it's not true and all of that. Who cares? It was still good television. And even if they tell us the real story, just knowing how it was done on this show, it just tapped into the nostalgia I had for the album. Um, Now with Raekwon, obviously he just dropped the new album, and he went on to have Only Built for Cuban Links 2, which was another great sequel to a classic album. And he had his slip up with the immobility after this album, but I did basically a album ranking for Raekwon albums, and the majority of his albums are good. Immobility is really the only one that I could comfortably say it's whack, right? And everything else is either good or great or classic, right? So I just feel like on the 30th anniversary of Only Built for Cuban Links, it should be celebrated, man. If you love that album from back in the day, play it today. You know, if you got t-shirts, I don't know, the sneakers that came out a while ago, the actual purple tape that was re-released, the vinyl, whatever, go on social media, celebrate this classic hip hop album. It was just one of those albums like the Illmatics and It Takes a Nation of Millions and the Paid in Full and Run DMC's Raising Hell. It's like them cornerstones in hip hop that to me are similar to people loving like Marvin Gaye's What's Going On and Stevie Wonder's Songs in the Key of Life and Michael Jackson's Off the Wall. Like, even though I love those albums too, this was my time. And, you know, getting ready to go off to college and kind of ever since high school, really, and maybe even junior high school, like sinking myself into music and the messages and kind of learning from certain rappers, good or bad, but at the end of the day, being entertained. Only built for Cuban Linx. If I was to describe it for someone who's like, okay, well, what kind of album is it? Think of it like street mafia flick, right? It's coke rap before coke rap was coke rap. You know, there's even sniffing at the beginning of one of the records, right? And they don't have a code. You know, this predates the Clips. You know what I'm saying? This predates Griselda. You know, and it inspires all these guys who we like now. And it's just a very dope album. So I know there'll probably be sales on vinyl or new vinyl release and things like that. You know, and if you've had the album digitally for a while, just go and support it, man, because the more we support what we consider to be real hip hop, the more the people with the power to present real hip hop will feel like not only is it profitable, but there's interest. So there you have it. Where were you when Raekwon dropped Only Built for Cuban Linx? Were you in the essence because you wasn't even born yet? Were you a grown man with kids? Or were you like me, about to go to school, college, or high school, or whatever, and you had the purple tape in your deck? Leave your comments in the comment section below. That's going to do it for me. You can follow me on social media at Vegas World INC everywhere. Same name, everywhere. Also, you can subscribe to the podcast first and foremost if you like audio in audio form. It doesn't matter if you're listening through YouTube or Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Or if you would prefer to watch the video, watch me say it. Look at the purple vinyl in the background. You can visit the YouTube channel, Hip Hop Pod. Subscribe, share, comment, like, but most importantly, don't just share it to share shake for share's sake. Share it with people you know. You know them more than I do, but you know they would enjoy this kind of content. Until next time, y'all, I'm not a critic. I'm a fan. Peace.